Hello, welcome to a new episode of our Far From Home, a talk with a friend abroad. We are back in Malta with Linda, who is Danish, living in Malta, and it's bringing us all the sun and then the bright of living in our beautiful island. And welcome, Linda. And I will just start straight away with the first question. So, how you ended up in Malta? If you want to share with us a little bit of your story.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I have a beautiful picture of one of the Maltese beaches in the background. I ended up in Malta actually because I wanted to take a master degree. I'm one of the people who has been in and out of studies. I've taken a lot of gap years, figuring out what I wanted to study and how I wanted to study, where I wanted to study. I was blessed enough to have some friends living in Malta, and they had a wedding. I was about to go to London Business School. Coming from Denmark and living in Copenhagen at the time, I needed a change and I wanted to do something different. And my friends here was mocking me and making a bit fun of me, saying, well, if you go to London, it's exactly the same weather you have in Copenhagen. It's the same kind of people. What are you thinking? And since I was not really set on the actual studies, I wanted a master degree. I wanted to better myself in something, but it could be various industries or learnings. So I was not really set on anything there. So when I came in May for a wedding here in Malta, then they said, why don't you study in Malta? You can still have time to apply. Just try to apply. So I went home, I sent an application, and I thought, well, let's see. Then I took an English test, and they ended up getting back to me and say, yeah, you can start in 1st of October. That was a month later than I would have had to start in London. It also gave me some more time to kind of prepare myself. And I've been to Malta a few times before, and I figured, why not? There's summer and sun, and I was supposed to stay here for 10 months and then go back. I had my job, coming back to my job, and would get a promotion when I came back. But I chose not to do that. So it's 4 years ago now, and I'm still here.
Good. And when you came, there were actually what were the differences, or there was also any cultural shock, something that you didn't expect it and was too much for you at the beginning to handle?
First of all, I think I mentioned three things. I had friends here, so I already knew the country a little bit, and I've been working with Maltese and Southern Europeans before, so the whole being a little bit late or things are more relaxed. I was used to that and expected that, but the fact that in the classrooms, one of my really big things was when I started in university, it was freezing. The air condition was on 15 degrees and outside it was 40 degrees. So I would show up in shorts and t-shirt and sit for 4 hours in the classroom shaking and not being able to think straight because I was so cold. So I started carrying a big blanket to class. Yeah, so that was the proper experience with real air conditioning. And I think the other thing was also related to the studies was the fact that all the exams, when came January and we had all the exams, we actually had to write all of them by hand. In Denmark, I've had a computer in front of me even from the first year of high school. So being a bit late starting my master degree, and high school was about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And for the last many years, I've been working on computers. I can't even write a postcard by hand, being able to read it myself after. So that was a very big challenge. And then I think, so I'm speaking outside of the university settings, and I was very surprised about the way they were handling their politics here and the way they were just work related. I really had to get into a new way of working, and not just in terms of time frames and all of this, but in terms of the way you were speaking to people and the way you were getting new acquaintances.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Before you mentioned the AC, I was thinking, because I saw your hair moving and I was like, is the AC or is the wind? So she's
it's actually, it's not the wind from the beach, fake background, but it's a fan because our air conditioner is broken. So I have a fan and my
I really thought, did she become Maltese? So now she has the AC also turned on at 15 or no?
Well, it is about 35, 40 degrees down here now. So our air conditioner is broken. Hopefully it'll be fixed tomorrow. So I have become Maltese. I like the air condition now.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you move to study, I remember I did my Erasmus in Portugal, and when you study, there are like some differences that are more then you see more, and you have to face, because also you have to like succeed in your exams. And
Yeah.
I remember in Portugal, for me, was that we were not used to like discussing and doing like paper or presenting paper in my university, while there every student was more like comfortable in discussing and challenging the professor, and I was quiet all the time. So it was a totally different way of like studying and learning.
It's very funny you mention it, because for me it's different. In Denmark, I was used to being graded very highly for having opinions and challenging the status quo. Here, I was not. So I was always the loud student being like, I'm sorry, but why are you saying this? And, so that was something I really had to get used to. It was more learn from the books, learn inside out, than it was, challenging the
Yes,
actual books. Yeah.
exactly. Yes, yes. That's interesting always. And then coming to the last month, like COVID came. How was for you, like professionally, personally?
Oh yeah. It was. I don't think I can be one of the ones who complain.
Mhm.
Today, in the last 2 years, I've been running a recruitment agency, and we work mainly with language-based recruitment within Europe, trying to really help people go abroad, because both me and my business partners have had amazing opportunities to go abroad and live abroad um, through our time, and we want to give that opportunity, whether it's a gap year job or it's just the first job abroad to enhance your career. We want to help people do that. So obviously, when they're starting to close airports and being afraid of taking in people from other destinations, then our job gets challenged. So I think first, when COVID happened, we probably underestimated it a little bit. We sort of said, "Oh, that will be like 2-3 weeks. It won't even come to Europe."
Yeah.
We heard about it in January, and then all of a sudden, we people in our office. We have offices in Spain and in Denmark and here in Malta, and people started to be like a little worried, and should we go to the office or what is? And we took a huge, very fast change and be like, okay, we're sending you home. Grab your laptops, your screens, everything. Go home, and then we figure it out from there. We rather be safe than sorry. But within a month or 14 days, we could actually see that we were risking to have a lot of months ahead of us with no income. So we rehired all of our amazing staff to be freelancers, and gave them I think quite a good opportunity to start their way of freelancing by keeping their laptops and all their electronics, and keeping their database and all of this, and still have a bit of training online and keeping in touch. So we managed to whip it around, and we were lucky that some of the largest companies we work with, they actually kept recruiting, and they were willing to start people up from home, and then when the airport opened, people could travel down. So it's been some tough months and a lot of changes, but I don't think that we can complain, because
Mhm.
we are not the one that's that bit. We managed. Let's
Yes.
put it that way.
Yeah, I think we manage, and you should also to prove to be really adaptable and like flexible and try to find solutions. And also probably the team responded like pretty well without yeah, too much complaining. And I was wondering, because you mentioned recruiting, and I do some mentoring also for people that want to start like their life abroad. Maybe they want to study abroad or working abroad. There are like 3 tips that you can share for people that want to find a job abroad or start something abroad, their career abroad.
Yeah, for sure. So the first tip is just prepare your mindset. Be ready for a change. Be ready that for the fact that you might get exactly the same job as you had at home in a new country, but it will be different. And the first month is new colleagues, new food, new temperature outside, new bed you're sleeping in. Just prepare your mind to be. I studied a little bit of neuroscience and a little bit, and your brain will basically be shaken up. So the fact that you will be confused, you will be missing home, you will be complaining about the smallest thing, you will be irritated, you will be tired. Like, try to just embrace all of that, because it will get better. It's just the first part. And if you then the second part is prepare your profile. because well, we're working within Europe, and somewhat the settings of a CV is the same around Europe. But are you going abroad from Europe to the US? They look at CVs a bit different, and even Asia. So prepare and look at the country where you're applying, and make sure you have a country code on your phone number. A very simple thing. If people want to call you, they don't know that you have a Italian number automatically, you know. So make sure you have the correct country code. You have a Skype ID on, because Skype or Zoom is the way that the big companies will contact you. So prepare your profile really well. Maybe even do a LinkedIn. Um, and the last tip, I don't know, it sounds very cliche, but just do it. It's worth it. I mean, if everything goes wrong, you can come back home. And yes, coming back home can be a bit different because you gave up your apartment or sold your car, but you can establish yourself again. So I think just take the chance and go.
Thank you. I think that was great. Like the first you mentioned, I call it my company Global Mindset Development. And I really think that when you go abroad, it's a mindset that has to change, because as you mentioned, even if the job is the same, many other things will be different. So also the job will be different, because everything around you will be different, and you will need a change in your mindset. So if you can prepare yourself before, you can never avoid a cultural shock 100%, but at least you can like prepare, be aware of your expectations also
You
set.
just be aware, you know, it takes 3 months to get used to new people. Uh, it takes 16 times you have to do something before it becomes a habit. So even just in a new flat, leaving your keys somewhere and finding them again, it has to be trained, and has to, small things will interrupt the brain. So yeah, it's important to be prepared for that.
Yeah. And then also, as you mentioned in the CV, there are all these like small things that we don't consider if we never like have live abroad or travel abroad or try to apply for a job abroad. But there are like, all these small things. Um, Also, yeah, the country code, or the way like you put your name and surname, or the age, and the time zone is also something. Yeah, you're working in Europe, but now with Zoom
It's
and all the opportunity online, when you set a time zone, so it's not everything is linked to your time zone, but you have to check which time zone.
exactly. So yeah, you have to just prepare your mind to be more internationalized. Country codes, time zones, languages, the way you present your language on a CV, you need to try and see if you can find a generalized version. Not just say my German is good, but what does good mean? You know, you need to explain exactly what level you are on, and there are ways to do that. But if you never tried it before, it can seem very complicated.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And what about the resources? Did you discover something? Did you find out something more, or something old that now you are using again?
I've actually been working remote and online for many years. So for me, it wasn't really a big change. I quite easily went back to that. But I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, like one of the biggest resources I found was these blue glasses. When you're sitting in an office, and you know, you're sitting talking to colleagues, or you have a lunch break where you go away from the screen, your eyes get a break. But now I sit, eat my lunch, even sometimes my breakfast, in front of the screen. All my calls and chats with my colleagues are on the screen, so my eyes don't get that natural break, unless I allow myself to go out for lunch or do something else for a minute. So the blue glasses actually helped me, because I could actually feel during COVID that my eyes started to itch and get tired. And you know, after the weekend, there was no problem. I've been away from the screen. And as soon as Monday came, Monday evening, I could feel it again. So that's something that so it's a more practical thing.
Yes.
The other thing I will say, resources, is actually friends and family. Even though they're super far away, I haven't seen them since December.
Mhm.
But when I'm normally abroad, I'm abroad, and they know I'm abroad. Oh, Linda, yeah, but she's there, but you know, she can always come home, and she comes in and out sometimes on holidays. It seems like now that I'm not able to come, and they know and are aware that I'm not able to come, not because of my planning, but because of the pandemic. All of a sudden, they've been reaching out to me, and they've been backing up, and how are you? And so the resources in finding your friends, that they're actually not that far away. Now also talking about working online and connecting online. So I think big resources that I rediscovered would actually be friends and families because of the pandemic.
Yes, I totally agree. Like the way I started this talk because of that, because I was being reaching by friends. I wanted like to share it, as I mentioned before, and so yeah, there was this like proximity, even if we were like far away. And it was the same for the family. Also for me, it was the same. Like Viviana is there; she's always fine. But we were like talking more on video calls and like yeah, checking on us, because we were worried, but also we couldn't say we were worried for each other, but we just like maybe share our day or something that we did during the day.
I had quite a lot of friends who had babies in this period, and normally, yes, they would send baby pictures, but normally I would also be able to fly home every weekend. And since I haven't been able to do that, people have been super sweet of engaging me, maybe a little bit more than they would normally, because I was not just a flight away. I was actually not able to take that flight. So
Yes.
it's been nice to just feel that and rediscover that, they're still there.
Yes, and people are asking me, and so I'm asking you, how was being isolated in an island? Because I didn't feel that, but from outside, it seems it was like worse than others that were on the continent.
Yeah. I found a bit of calmness about it, and probably you did too, because we only had the airport and then we have the main port, but the ferries was not coming in. It was only the cargo, and airport closed, which means when there was no cases, there were no cases, or like very little cases, and they were not coming from anywhere. They were not exploding. Nobody was crossing the borders.
Yes.
So in that terms, and then I'm sorry, but now I'm from Denmark, and even though they had amazing weather during COVID, I think that I can't complain. I mean, it was 25 degrees here. I live right in front of the beach. So even though I got this beautiful letter from the government because I'm diabetic saying you should stay inside, early mornings, late evenings, I could go out and there were no people there. All the tourists, all the 2 million tourists we normally get, they were not there. So just being able to take a little walk and no people on the street, I found that quite amazing actually.
Yes, 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 and
So
also
I didn't feel isolated.
yeah, me too. I had the same. I actually felt secure, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and also this idea of like protecting the vulnerable categories. I think also I was not a vulnerable categories, but for me was okay. That's also good, because is also protect someone even more than all the other that we already like protected. We need to follow
Yeah.
some guidelines.
Yeah, I felt like it was well taken care of. At one point, I could see people, because also I live in front of the beach and the street there. So I saw people started going out after 3-4 weeks. And I was sitting feeling like, the more you guys go out, the longer it takes for me to be able to, because I was only out very early in the morning, very late in the evening, if even. And then I was out to do quick groceries, but that was it. So obviously, I was inside and I felt sometimes, okay, it's not fun because I can see some people walking outside.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was sitting waiting for that one letter saying, now you're allowed to go out again. It took about 2 months to get. So 2 months inside, um, it's never fun. But I have three flatmates. So we actually had the opportunity to just all sit and work from home, all just bond and have a lot of fun and play card games and stuff like that. So that was a different experience. It was quite nice.
Yes. Yes, and that's interesting, because I think there is still like now there is this idea of like getting back to normal, and we need to like get back to all our activities and enjoy. But the point is also what you mentioned. And also in this case, the change in the mindset is not only for you and or you that you are going to take the virus, but it's also to protect the others. So
Yeah.
you should keep like wearing the mask, at least on the public transport or in the shops, not only for yourself. Maybe you will take it, survive it, and or also, I mean, not.
Yeah, like I mean, blessed being diabetic, but I actually have every 3 months I have checkups. My organs are fine. Like I know that I am good and fine because I have to keep good and healthy. So I'm not afraid of my immune system. It's lower than other people who doesn't have a chronic disease. But I don't think out of the risk group, I might not be the biggest risk group. But still, just making sure that people keep their grandparents. Why lose a grandparent or a sick parent or a sick brother or sister because of a pandemic? A lot of people are talking about the financial part of it, and it obviously we need to look at that as well. But then again, many of the large companies, they need to change because this is apparently our new reality.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I feel like it is so a lot of the companies that are complaining, in my mind, in my opinion, they could probably do more to pivot and fit into this new reality we're all facing.
Exactly. Yes, it's really a matter of like innovate or just like adapt and being flexible, because probably we will never get back to as it was before. And also working remotely has proved also to be maybe more effective for some like companies or sector and less costly. So there are a lot of
I mean, for us, we are now not paying rent 3 places.
exactly.
You know, we are personally, I always worked better when I'm just me. I'm missing my interns because I had great help and great fun there, and I miss having my lunch breaks and small chats with my colleagues. But I can meet them in a cafe and sit and work sometimes. You know, it's still luckily here good enough that we can do that. But actually, I am so much more effective. I get so much more done half the time of what I normally spend on things. So as I said, I can't really complain. For me, it was kind of a blessing to have that. And break it here, but I'm even thinking about moving back to France, where I lived when I was younger. And the fact that I don't have an office I'm connected to at the moment, it's giving me that opportunity. So if I want to test that out again, I can do that.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. And for the interns, I will start to have like interns working for me remotely. So we'll try to have like also a remote team building to try to bond with them before, and I will see. It's also this is also a new reality, but I think again they
But as a school intern, they need to
exactly. I think you froze a little bit. Let's see if you can come back. Let me see. No, you're back.
I'm here again. I'm
Yes.
so sorry.
Let me show your video again. Okay, no worry. I just
Yeah.
lose the last
Okay.
part.
I'm sorry. How much did you hear?
You were just mentioning something about the interns, the students, the schools.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, they're getting educated into this, and I actually read an article recently about the the financial crisis that we're going through, and they're actually connecting it a little bit to what happened during the First World War. The people getting educated into the world after the First World War and had to go out on the job market there. They were lost. They call it the lost generation, and they're connecting it a little bit. The numbers are not as bad as it was back then, but the tendency is the same. You're getting educated into a job where you normally would work in an office, and that office job is just not there. And maybe from school the last couple of months you've been doing online lessons, but doing online lessons and motivating yourself to do your job when nobody's grading you up front is very different.
Yes.
So it's quite interesting to hear that worldwide they are starting to really try and push students to think differently. So
Yes.
maybe having an intern online is a great way of doing it.
Yeah, the alternative for them, because many companies they say that they didn't want them anymore, and so and I was like, yeah, I can take them, like not too many, but
Yeah.
I will have a few of them. Yes, to give an opportunity, and then it's also adjustment to the new reality and working in this new like environment we're working now.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also gives I lost quite a good chances to have some really good interns because I was located in Malta and they were not able to move. I mean, that can open some doors as well, that you're not restricted by having to travel and you're not restricted by having to be in a certain place at a certain time.
Exactly.
For me as well, going home when hopefully COVID lifts completely at some point, that I can go back and see my family for a few months and even work from Denmark, or it gives so many more opportunities to be free. So for me, I think that it's ideal. Like you can actually not get me to complain about it.
No, I agree. Of course, there are like other opinions, but I agree and I share your opinion. We're
Yeah, I
almost
mean, you're in Italy now, so then
exactly.
coming back to Malta, and yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And yeah, for me it was really an opportunity also to like scale up my business and transform in a global business, because my clients, they don't need to be only based in Malta. And this was my idea since the beginning, and just like faster getting there. And now I'm in Italy, I will be back in Malta, then maybe I will again back in Italy for a few months or weeks if needed. And yeah, it will be free and better than before, that maybe I have to like adjust all the travel based on the day I was requested to be in Malta or in just one specific country or place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have always been commenting on the fact that I've always been super busy on Facebook. I mean, when I was 19, I moved to France. That was kind of the year that Facebook really got its grip into the Danish youth. And since I've been super active, I've been uploading my days and pictures and updates and following others and liking pictures. And people are making fun. They're like, "Oh, Linda, you're always the first one to like our pictures or follow." I am, because I live abroad. I don't see you every day, but this is a great way of keeping connected.
Yeah.
And it's fun because I can see that a lot of my friends have actually started to be more active on Facebook during COVID. So I'm like, maybe now you feel a little bit what I've had for years, you know. But just keeping connected, and there's so many opportunities. I mean, Zoom has been booming the last couple of months. Before that, it was mainly Skype I used. And everywhere there's internet, even like wherever you go, data packages for your phone internationally. So it's not really limited anymore. If this had happened 15 years ago, you know, it probably would have been a bit more boring and a bit more challenging.
Yes. No. I totally get it. Also, Facebook, yeah, proved to be. Again, I share this with you because also some friends of mine at the beginning, they were not complaining, but pointing, oh, you are too active on Facebook. You're sharing too many things on Facebook, but that was my way of being connected with all my friends that were living all over the globe. So that is, I can send like 10 or 20 different text messages, or I can upload a picture and that everyone is of my friends can.
I have so many groups with different people, so I just go in there and I do an update. This is my life. How is it going in your life? You know, for families, for friends, and it just makes it easier because people. I think I was at the at a conference, and Gary Vaynerchuk mentioned, like, how many of you are tired of people just calling you out of the blue? And very few, including me, put up my hand. I'm not tired. I love when people trying to connect, but it's just not always it's on the time where I have time.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to be able to just do an update, and then when other people have the time, they can get back to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend in Sweden, and we are on WhatsApp together, and we are literally like, I'm recording a message for her, and then 3 days later she is replying back to that. So we kind of have an ongoing conversation that's been going on for over half a year. We haven't had the time to actually sit down and have a chat, but it's working. We're still connecting. So
exactly. No, that's great. And we're almost at the end of our conversation. I really enjoyed. Thank you so much. And so now there is an episode to your countries in your languages. So feel free to share your message.
Oh, I don't really know what to say, but I think it's gonna go something like, hej Danmark, jeg håber, at I nyder sommeren, og jeg håber, at der er noget sommer og noget sol. Jeg har hørt, det har regnet en del. Hvis I er friske på at tage til udlandet og mangler et job, så kontakt mig, så vil jeg meget gerne hjælpe jer. That was it. I just told people that if they needed a job abroad, they could contact me.
That's good. Perfect. Super. This is my question related to the language. Can you understand like Swedish and Norwegian? Speaking
Yes.
Danish? Okay.
So in Denmark, actually doing our Danish lessons in primary school, we do have a few times where you have to sit and translate those texts. And if you live in the north of Denmark, you can actually reach Norwegian TV. If you live in the south, you can reach German TV. Okay. And in the east, you reach Swedish TV. So I've been lucky enough to have had family living in Sweden and many friends from there. And I also had a mother and now a brother living in Norway. So I think I'm a bit closer to understand it really well, and I also speak a little bit. Most Danish people, they understand it if people speak slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but the reading it is almost the same.
Yes. Good. Perfect. Thank you very much also for the language lessons. Languages. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.